All right. Good evening, morning, night, or whatever it is that you're watching this on YouTube. Welcome to Cody on Comics. I'm glad you've come to get yourself a little cock. Tonight, you're getting a little extra cock. It's Cody and Cody on Comics. I have with me the famous Cody Blackbird of the Cody Blackbird banner. You guys are just Blackbird now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just Blackbird. Native American flutist. He's amazing. I had the pleasure of playing with this man for quite some time. We spent a lot of time on the road. Years ago now. We both grew up here in Alaska. How many NAMMys you got now? 5, 6?
Five. Yeah, five.
5. So he's 5-time NAMMY winning artist. And today's topics are going to be Indigenous representation in popular culture. So we'll touch on Werewolf by Night, Kushala the Spirit Rider, both written by Taboo. We'll talk a little bit about Darcy Little Badger. She's coming up in the comic book world. She's got a novel. And then we'll talk about some reservation dogs to start, because TV is wonderful and we like TV. So yeah, tell us about yourself too, though, man. What are you doing currently? What's your latest? What are you working on?
Solo wise, I just released an album with a good friend Jalen Leddit, who is actually a producer on our song with Portugal the Man, Back Up. And so we came together for a flute and piano traditional album. So we just released that, I think like last week or the week before. And then band wise, we're working on a lot of new music. We're working on a couple projects that I can't talk about yet, but doing some writing for some films that are coming out. And yeah, just staying busy in the studio. We're not really hitting the road. We're doing some shows through the fall, so here and there, but we're not really hitting the road until January. So just gearing up and writing a lot. We've been in the studio pretty much 4 or 5 days a week working.
Oh yeah, good. That's good. You gotta stay busy, especially this last couple years. Like, keep busy. So yeah. So did you've seen Res Dogs all the way through?
Okay, so yes, just as of 2 nights ago, because as I said, we've been like working nonstop, and then I'm gigging 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And so I've been wanting to watch it. I watched 2 episodes when it first came out. And then I hadn't been able to get back to it. So I sat down Saturday night and caught myself up and was just like, yeah, my little slice of heaven, just enjoying that night and catching up on it, because I had to avoid like all the posts. I had to avoid like reading, things about it, because I was like, wait, I haven't seen it yet. And Caleb and Robert had seen it, so they were like, there'd be times where they'd have to catch themselves and be like, so I feel like I am in the same level with everybody now of understanding where Res Dogs is at.
Right. Like, first off, it was brilliant in that it's comedy, but real life comedy, like real situation comedy, instead of some made up bullshit. And then such a great cast coming in to play these characters, like everything about it, but it had some really tender moments, like tear to your eye, like, oh man, that made me feel something, which you don't often get in something that's like pushed as a comedy. So it was just, I loved it, every minute of it. I can't wait for a season 2. I want to see him go to Cali eventually.
Yes, but, and as of 2 nights ago, when you referenced that, I would have been like, what do you mean Cali?
Right. Yeah, that was the will they won't they of the show, is, are they going to Cali or not?
But, I was really really impressed with everybody involved in that show. going back to what Sterling, Dallas, all of them did with 1491s, and really trying to put our representation out there back then and how well they were doing it then in comedy. And then seeing how they're able to now take all of those kind of goals that they had and just push it to the mainstream in the best positive way. It's just this success story of Indigenous filmmakers, and it's really awesome to see people thriving and doing well on a mainstream level, who are just telling a story that needs to be told and telling our people's story in an accurate and
really tasteful, engaging as well. Like if you're an outsider and looking in, it's engaging. It's like these are real people. It's not something you're just seeing on the news. It makes it a little more real, and that's important. My wife really enjoyed it. As you know, my wife's Kanaitsi. It's her flag back there. And it was important to her for our daughter's sake, especially, and then my stepson as well, to see Native kids doing Native kid things on the TV. And it's not a home video, it's not a YouTube clip, this is legitimate TV. The prime time, if you will. That's a powerful thing for a kid.
I think something that people of this generation are feeling today with Res Dogs is very comparable to that generation in the 70s that saw Redbone on Midnight Special.
I was just thinking about Redbone too. Yes.
And how they tied that in together. That was really...
Dude, you don't know Redbone?
Exactly. It was a very great way to pay homage to the fact that Redbone did the same thing musically back in that day, and that's what people felt then, that sense of pride and we're being heard.
Right.
And to tie those two in together, that was really cool.
It's the Redbone scene in the car. Big is my favorite character, by the way. Fucking the Light Horseman, absolute favorite character. He's just so out there.
All the we were talking about this a few weeks ago I was up in North Dakota doing a show, and we were out to dinner afterwards, and we were talking about the show and how and at that point I had only seen the first 2 episodes, and I think that's all that was out then anyway, but we were talking about it and how that accuracy in their portrayals of their characters, they are acting and they are following a script and a storyline, but it seems like they're able to just be themselves, and that is the most, how we said, tasteful and engaging part of it. I think that's what makes it so tasteful and engaging, is that it's so real and so accurate. It's like we're watching the show and the whole time we're like, that reminds me of, so-and-so, 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 so-and-so. We have all...
You lean over, you go, hey, your uncle's on TV.
Like, wow, this is, and then knowing some of the actors in it, you're like, wow, that's exactly them as well,
Well, and that's the thing too, is you do know some of these people. It's that's got to be fun. Like
it's cool, it's like I said, going back to the feeling of seeing others and friends thrive and do so well, and like Gary Farmer, he's been an icon in Native acting for years, and just done so much, and of course not only on camera, on stage, but also musically. He's an amazing musician, and so he's somebody that I really look up to.
I didn't realize he played. I'll have to look into that.
Oh yeah, he's Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers.
Oh, I'm here for that. I like the name already.
The last tour they did, we played with them in Tucson. We co-billed, and I think it was who was it? Derek Miller, Mark Brown. I'm spacing on the other names, and then Gary Farmer. So Gary Farmer basically had an all-star, band. It was like Mark Brown and Derek Miller and
Slaughter.
it's great. He really he brings everybody together and has a good time on stage, and he's a great harmonica player, great lyricist, great singer.
Oh, so that was him actually playing harmonica in the show. You never know, because it's real easy to pretend, and then they throw something in there. It looked right. That's awesome. Fuck. Sometimes I miss it, but I do get to go back, and you're talking about seeing people, or at least hearing them, is Jonathan. So I'll go back and watch old King of the Hill episodes or some Parks and Rec and think about the times. Like remember when we lost him in Anchorage?
There's a lot from years ago that are patchy memories, but I remember that whole trip vividly.
That was a good trip. Because we started in Fairbanks, right? Yeah. I picked you up in Anchorage, and then we headed up the road to Fairbanks.
We went to Fairbanks, and then we did that, and then we came back, and John flew in, and we did the Taproot.
Yeah.
Back when Taproot was a thing.
Yeah. Oh, the good old days.
I will never forget him. He just, again, talking about character and portrayal of the real, just his persona on stage was, he took over that and brought to life that John Redcorn.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which was that I'm not taking any shit, and I'm here to tell you white people who I am. And they loved it. I was sitting back like, oh, what? And they loved it.
Yeah, no, they did. They ate it up.
Yeah, that was fun.
I just remember when we went to go meet up with him down in Marina Del Rey that first time I met him. And he walks up to us, and he's looking at all the people on the beach. He looks at you, he looks at me, and he goes, "Fucking white people, am I right?"
Dude, yeah. Joss is the best. He again done so many projects and films he's been a part of, and of course, the most notable Parks and Rec, Magnificent Seven, and being John Redcorn on King of the Hill. Yeah, but it's like there's so much.
Demon and Charmed.
Yeah, he was just out. We were in New York at the same time, out in the Hamptons. He was doing a show, doing a stage show out there. I think it was Annie Get Your Gun. Can't remember. That might not be right. I think it was, though. But anyways, I mean, the guy stays busy doing everything from stage to voiceover to,
He's got a nice house in Texas, and he's never there.
Yeah.
That's life. I don't often miss the hecticness of traveling for entertainment. I'm enjoying this. I just play here. but
I have a gig, the one I do 3 days a week at the Native Art Market here. I play solo traditional flute music 3 days a week there, and I've been doing that through the pandemic. And so Alaska was our first trip flying since COVID, when we went up for the state fair.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
Yeah, that, we weren't able to make that happen. We were trying, and then things fell through. And
I got a new job, so next time you come up, I've got time. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna next time we come up, we're gonna have longer too.
Cool.
Like, And then we almost did. We were down in Girdwood. We're like, should we just keep going?
Dude,
But
right? It's just another hour and a half, 2 hours with bad traffic.
but yeah, that was the first flight, first trip since COVID, and then we weren't playing up there. Of course, we were just getting B-roll and hanging out and visiting. But then we went to North Dakota and we did a show, and that's when I realized I was like, wow, I haven't traveled for a show in a long time. I'm usually like on the go, go, go. And I was like, have I gotten used to this? Just being like, talking yesterday with another friend about it. Like, I think I like staying at home and recording and chilling.
There's a lot to be said for your studio being in your living room or wherever, you know. Like that's where I'm at right now. This is my little office, but there's a lot for it. Like I can do everything I need. I've got a way to hang a heavy curtain, so I've got sound baffling if I'm doing like actual recording. Like, you know, it's nice.
When you were here, the master bedroom was master bedroom, and then there was an office off the master bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the studio. And so then I was like, I don't need a master bedroom. So we made the master bedroom the studio, and the office is now the bedroom.
Hell yes.
So, you know,
well,
like
and the studio needs a bathroom attached. Like it just does.
I mean, studio, that's if we ever were to be like, oh yeah, come and record here, I'd be like, we have a world tub, hot tub in the studio, and you know,
like, get in the mood and then come play some tracks. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very nice, and it's been chill to be able to take the time and really work on some stuff. But I miss the road, but it's going to take some getting acclimated to again, because
I imagine
I forgot. Like I in Portugal, the man Zach Crothers has said a couple times, he's like, I fucking forgot how to play music, and I just forgot how to travel. Like I play
right. You've had your live gigs, so like for me, you know, Alaska didn't, Anchorage, but not the rest of us, didn't really shut down. So like there was maybe a good month at the beginning where like there were no gigs, nobody was booking, and then it let up and we started booking again. And again, just locally, but we never stopped. And so like we've had that momentum to keep going.
Yeah.
Just last summer was amazing for music up here because we were able to get some acts from out of state, but also like, fuck, dude, we had Chris Caligo come up like a month and a half ago. Nice. Yeah, to Kenai, Soldotna rather, but like nobody comes here. But yeah, we've had some nice acts come through, but the locals have been keeping that momentum, so nobody's lost their taste for going out and doing the live music thing, and we try to keep it to outdoor venues, safe as one can, but overall we're just doing whatever. Well, see, but nobody's traveling.
Yeah, and here, like I always remind people are like, how are things with COVID in your state? And I'm like, I live in the state that Tombstone's in. We are in the Wild West,
and
that should answer your question.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not getting into that whole whatever box of worms, but just to talk on the entertainment side, things haven't really slowed down here on the level of like people going out. Shows, a lot of the venues were closed for a long time.
Sure, but you've got a lot of outdoor options too.
That, but you'd also see like all these clubs packed full with people and a DJ, and they're like, oh yeah, we're limiting capacity, but they look how they look pre-pandemic. But then you've got musicians that can't play a show to 10 people inside because whatever. And so we dealt with that here. We couldn't play because there was nowhere to play. If I was a DJ and, you know, going out there and spinning, that was a tough, you know, world to be in. I've got some friends that were DJs and it was dog eat dog because
Oh, I bet.
the clubs there was only the select few that were hiring, but they were still, going. It's weird. You've got different states that like Alaska seem to keep the live entertainment going, and down here they kept the, just the dancing clubs and bars going, but killed the venues.
Shit. I started working with a DJ here and there, just because like he's not doing like his own mixes, like sometimes, but not really his thing.
Yeah.
But he's just a club DJ. Club, because we have those here. But I started working with him and we'd like switch sets and stuff some nights, or otherwise I'd start or he'd start and I'd finish, whatever.
Nice.
Just see where the crowd was taking us. But we don't have a lot of DJs. There's more live bands in the area than there are DJs. So like,
Yeah.
not a lot of competition with them, and they're willing to work with you. Like for
See, that's nice.
yeah,
That's
yeah. It's a community.
yeah. I miss that. I miss Alaska for that. That was going back every time is like an eye opener to the community that exists within Alaska, and you don't get a lot of other places. There's pockets of it,
Sure.
But I think, and I'm talking, artist wise, band wise, that community, everywhere else there's a lot of infighting and everyone's just in it for themselves. But Alaska seems to have a pretty tight grip on saying, hey, we got to work together, because
there's only so many gigs that are available really on any given weekend, winter or summer. But if you're working with one another, it's really easy to split those gigs up to where everybody's playing all the time. And you don't have to fight. Not here. I see down like Lowell's down in Washington, Vancouver area, and it's like you say with the DJs, dog eat dog. I don't know that I could compete down there because I wouldn't want to.
That's a whole nother. I don't know. I learned from a friend of mine years ago when I moved here. He said, don't plan on playing in your backyard. And I was like, what do you mean? There's so many great places to play here. And 7 years living here, and I understand what he means. And it's very rare that we will do things right here in the community, just because people say, oh, you live here, so we'll use that in our leverage to book you.
Yeah, we don't have to pay you as much.
And then going down the line, how it is within the infighting when community doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so it's just that you'd rather just sit back and create where you live and then go out elsewhere, at least for us. And it's been that way. And so we've shaped it in a way that benefits us, so that we have control in saying, okay, we'll do our nonprofit gigs, we'll do our tribal community gigs, we'll do everything for community, and then anything else we're going to take on a case-by-case basis sort of thing.
Right.
And so we always tried to not really have to work at home, just because we're always out on the road so much that when we're home, we're just in the studio creating. But I think that's, a thing anywhere, especially those bigger cities and bigger music communities, Nashville, places like that. It's just like, what are you going to do? I was another friend of mine, actually from Alaska. We were just talking the other night, and she was talking about the Nashville scene and how it's like, if you smiled at somebody sincerely, and they took it the wrong way, you would never work at that venue or with that band again. And it's like, Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
another thing. You don't really, for the vast majority of it within the native music scene, I've seen a lot of, positive community, people willing to help each other. People, you do have those times where things are a little abrasive or rough or whatever, or
sure.
toes feel stepped on. That's going to happen anywhere. But I really enjoy that side of things going on, back to the resiliency and community of working together in that positive light.
When I was traveling with you and we were doing that circuit in particular, the it was really cool to see out in the world, not just here, that same sense of community like you're talking about, because everybody was really, really welcoming to all of us, and we're like a bunch of dirty dudes in a van showing up and making some cool sounds and beating feet.
Right?
But like it was a beautiful thing. There was, because we were playing bigger venues, we were doing bigger audiences, fucking Alcatraz. uh that was it was cool. It was really cool because it was a lot of other artists that we were meeting up with and interacting and collaborating with even.
Yeah.
So to see that on a larger scale than what we have in Alaska was super cool to me. I don't think you'd find it if we were in the punk scene or the regular blues circuit, I just
Yeah.
don't think it would be there. Uh,
Yeah.
we get those guys come through here, they don't last long. um, One thing, talking about representation of indigenous culture and popular culture, I consider you to be one of those people. For me, with my kids especially, like, your music is something we listen to because it has the flute, and my kid loves everything. She loves everything. She's all about music. The 5-year-old. uh
Nice.
but she's got her own little guitar, little 3-string cigar box guitar,
Oh yeah.
but it's a start, right? uh
Oh yeah.
but we listen to music, and to her, especially now, that she doesn't know, fuck, as far as I know, I don't think she knows about the radio. And she definitely doesn't know about, top 40 or any of that crap. What
Yeah.
she does know is what's good. And so pop culture for her is kind of taken on this different meaning,
Yeah.
or will in the years to come, as her mind is more individualized.
Yeah.
But like, so for us, you're one of those people. um I read to her comics, the taboo comics. I've read her Werewolf by Night. I probably shouldn't, because the art in that is sick. It's really good, and can be quite scary for a young mind, but she's cool. um but we consider you one of these people that's like doing it, for real. Like, because I can go, look, Dad's got to go play a show, and she knows what that means, but we can watch your shows on YouTube. um we can find your shows to watch without having to go to them. All mine are at a bar for the most part. There's my cat. uh um but like, it's cool for her to be able to see someone that isn't acting, it's not writing. I mean, it's writing, sure, but the performance aspect isn't the written word. It's how you perform it later. But for her to see that from someone of her own culture is especially because she's very, very into music. Like, she wants to do that already.
Nice. That's important. I appreciate that a lot. That is the reason of why, I think there's times where I'm like, I'm just tired. And it's like, no, there's a purpose behind this that's greater than any one person involved. And musically, eclectically growing up, it's weird for me because I'll have, a producer or somebody say, hey, you should make this sound like this. And they'll name out whatever band, right? If anybody else knew, they'd be like, oh yeah, that song by this band. And they'd be like, boom. I don't know that. I literally have to go back and like pull up YouTube and look up that song. And I might recognize the song, but I don't know it by name and band. And I don't know it by, being able to be like, okay, this, that, or the other is what they're trying to achieve in the sound that we're trying to layer with guitar, whether it be drums or whether it be, implementing a different, organ or whatever it is. I don't know all that because I grew up listening to music that wasn't on the radio. I grew up listening to music that was from another era, Django Reinhardt, Guy Clark, all that jazz, like singer, songwriter, some really good, amazing music. I did listen to the radio as well, but I was not somebody who knew these mainstream hits, who knew these charting bands. So that's come as a difficulty, I think, in some aspects, but it's become more of a advantage to me because I never had any one genre pounded into my head. I never ever had any one sound targeted for what we wanted to create. I just wanted to make music, and if it sounded cool. If it sounds country, great. If it sounds rock, cool. If it sounds blues, cool. If it sounds like jazz, that's awesome. And
well, then there's your techno album.
And then I've got a lo-fi album coming out as well. So
yes,
it's just, I think growing up like that is a huge advantage to making music and making a diverse array of music. Going back to being Alaskan, I find that with so many of my friends, bro, like, and in high school too, where none of us were listening to mainstream music. None of us were listening to what was popular. We were sitting in the hallway writing music that sounded like it was, way beyond its years and taken from another era at the same time.
No, so there's a thing like, okay, so you grow up here and you never leave, and so you wouldn't notice this maybe, except now that you Spotify and shit, you can listen to whatever you want whenever you want, what's charting today, and you can listen to that. But growing up, our radio stations in the 90s and the 80s were about 5 years behind every other radio station in the country.
Oh, for real?
By the late 90s, early 2000s, we caught up a little in that maybe you'll get the number one this week, maybe, but you're guaranteed to only be getting like the last like 2 years prior to now music.
Yep.
Which was a catch up for us. That's 3 years of catching up that we did. But nobody was listening to the top 40. We didn't know what the top 40 meant up here. Like,
that's the thing, is like, we would, growing up, my mom's side of the family lives out in Ohio, as you know. And so, and then we would go back to South Dakota for the summertimes for ceremonies. So we were traveling a couple different places in the summertime, or every other summer, whatever it was, to go visit family back east. And so we would notice, and like, we we would understand like what the hell is going on. I think I was 7 years or 8 years old, and I was like, whoa. And it was when we moved to Alaska, left Idaho, drove to Alaska, and I got to Alaska and I was like, why are they playing music from 2 years ago?
Right?
And then I said, oh, okay, cool. And then I understood that was just part of being an Alaskan, and I adapted.
Like, so in the 90s, watching TV, I didn't realize that they were just using top 40 tunes for some of these pieces in the soundtracks because I didn't hear the song for a couple years until after I heard it on a goddamn TV show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like media of that time, especially the 80s and 90s, they used the 50s and 60s music heavily, which is not a bad thing, not a complaint. But
Yeah.
everything had like a 50s and 60s soundtrack.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Nostalgia, I guess, but
I guess that's where it comes from. It's just crazy. Like there's my mind is blank right now. So if I think of it and put it in a little tagline later or something, I can't think of his name, but he wrote this song. It's involved in like the Alaska Folk Society and stuff.
Hobo Jim Barsos.
No, not Hobo. R.I.P. This guy's younger. He's like in his early 20s. Anyways, he wrote a song, and this song sounds like, I don't even know what era. It's just such a mishmash, but it's like so. It reminded me exactly of what I said, like going through the halls. I went to Polaris, so going through the halls, it was like you don't have to go to, at that time, you don't have to go to class. You know, if you get your work done, great. And so there were those of us that would just hang out in the hallways, and a lot of people would sing and write music all day. And it reminded me of that. And it was like this era from, like you said, from the 50s, 60s that just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But then it kind of gets melded with, you know, what's the contemporization of music and the player.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I've never found it anywhere else, man. Anywhere else than Alaska. So
where I don't know, we're into the simple, but we're also into the complex in that we like to take a base of extremely simple and then add complex things to it.
Yeah.
Look at the fishing industry. Fishing. Well, now we got right, and it's this huge endeavor of set netting, and I guess you don't see set netting many other places in the world. I don't know. But you know, we take a simple concept as fishing and we turn it into complicated things. Music too. We go, okay, let's start with bluegrass and then add this distortion pedal, that drummer, and we got something new.
And leading back to, you know, Jim, what an amazing, like, I don't know, I just saw him at the fair, you know, so it's so crazy. And like I said, RIP and condolences to his family, but such a true like staple of what we're talking about. Just that amazing
the spirit,
camaraderie, artist and understanding. And I've been reading so many stories, man. I think the best one is crap. Now I'm gonna go blank again. Well, I'll just tell the story because yeah, I'll leave out names. But anyways, Jim walked up behind, this was a common joke, I guess, that Jim would tell. He'd walk into a bathroom, walk behind somebody at a urinal and say, "Hey, is your pocket waterproof? I really got to take a piss."
That sounds like Jim.
Oh man, like the guy, he would do that kind of, you know, he was like that with strangers. He just would make laugh. And I think his music came across the same way, with that same personality and that same kind of just here for everybody aspect. I just read his last words. He wrote a note on his phone, and it was just beautiful. And it was, you know, thank you to all Alaskans. And
I just saw that this morning.
And yeah,
he was a pretty incredible guy. I got to know him not real well, but well enough because I worked for him for 2 summers when he was playing the Riverside House. The last couple of years it was open, I was taking money at the door for him. And then once we filled up, I'd go bar back. But I'm the guy taking the money, so he wanted to get to know me a little bit, and he just had so many stories. Like it's hard to remember any of them. He told so many. And then you hear all the stories on the stage, and he cleans them up a little bit, or he doesn't, depending on the audience.
Yeah. And
he had this energy that just would not quit. Like,
yeah,
tell he's dog ass tired because he's been on the road all week playing up and down the highway here in Alaska, but then he's here on Friday night, Saturday night, dog ass tired, but it's the same show everybody else gets, maybe a better one because he's in his hometown. But just super genuinely nice person. I love that man. He was a treasure, and he will be missed.
Absolutely. Yep.
But he got it.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. He got it. Going back to community and understanding. And there was people, I know that sometimes he had abrasive moments with, and that he didn't necessarily get along with. And, I saw those people in him act like nothing had ever happened there at the end on social media and the comments and the love. And it just goes to show that, things can happen. We're humans. We all have those bad days, those bad moments, but he was never one to hold a grudge. No. And just let his art do the talking. And if you had an issue with it,
don't listen.
You'll get over
it. Don't listen.
Or that.
Me and Laura once did a track, and I lifted literally the snare sound from I can't remember what song it was of his, but we recorded at the same studio. So I had the engineer pull that snare sound and put it in where mine was. It was amazing. Right, so there's a little piece of Hobo Jim's record and nice. A Men with Guns record.
That's what's up. Oh yeah.
So
was that Kurt by chance?
No, Scott here in Soldotna. Scott Mary.
I didn't realize that Kurt was
the first guy.
Yeah.
Same. I knew that they'd worked together because I've been to Kurt's studio and I've seen the records on the wall,
but I didn't realize that it was like
that record.
And it was that. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Like, that's your classic story in the musician world. Like, you gotta hear like fucking, it's your cousin Chuck, when you're calling him on what is the movie? Back to the Future. You gotta hear this kid play.
Right.
But no, so talking more about like current pop culture, and comics are everything, right? So Werewolf by Night I chose in particular for this conversation because it's October, spooky season, werewolves, right? The new character is I gotta go back to it. Jake Gomez. Jake Gomez is a boy of Hopi descent, and he underwent his first transformation when he's 13, but he's more of a mystical, more like the werewolves in Twilight, in that he's a descendant of. It's not like lycanthropy, so it's not a magical thing. As far as I can tell, we're only like 6 episodes, 6 issues in. So it's still pretty new, and they haven't really explored it. But what I like is there's been a lot of controversy with some of these characters in the past, like Danny Moonstar, um, from the New Mutants, Proudstar, James Proudstar, and he's Alpha Flight. In that they're very much stereotypes in their early days, and Marvel's trying to take steps to fix that. In that they're hiring indigenous people to write these characters now. So
Yeah.
Taboo got Werewolf by Night, and they went from Jack Russell to this new Jake Gomez, and then Taboo's also writing Kushala, the Spirit Rider. She's Apache from the 1800s, sometime 1880s, I think, but she was also the sorceress supreme of her time. So Doctor Strange of her time period. And so she knows all the magic, but she's got a spirit of vengeance in her as well. And so there was problems with some of these characters. Yes.
Yeah. The bro Kenneth Shirley did some design work with Taboo on that, on the character here,
Hell yeah.
so,
Hell yeah. So like for me, oh puppy. For me, like I like to see accuracy in culture. Like you see a lot of being as I'm of Irish descent, you see a lot of the we like to fight and drink stereotypes, and it's like, okay, you're not wrong. But I'd also like to see Irish people when they're like Irish, not just being played out as a giant leprechaun. There's a little bit more to our people than that. Not much, but a little. We stopped inventing things for like 300 years after we came up with whiskey. So
done. There's no way we could top this. We're not even gonna try.
We're not gonna try. So but it would be nice to see better representation, and so to see it with indigenous people. My stepdad growing up, he didn't have anything in comics, and he loved comics. He was a Conan guy.
Nice.
Yeah, I still got some of his old Conans that he gave me. But that he didn't have anything, and when he did, it was old Iron Eyes crying at the trash. And like, what's that? It's nothing. Or
Not
the old spaghetti westerns where it's a bunch of Italian guys, actually.
Yeah.
So he didn't have anything growing up. So it's something that you want for the future, because there's a lot to this world, this country, as far as the people that make it up, that we miss, that is beautiful and should be seen, and it should be celebrated, and it should just be there. You shouldn't turn on your TV and only see my face. Because I go outside and I see a world,
Yeah.
So comics, especially, because that's how you get kids reading. Sometimes it's a fun little diversion from school, while still keeping your mind sharp. A lot of the focus for my show here is showing the literary value of the medium of comic books, which is there's a lot of literary value. You can learn a bunch of interesting things about people, because at the end of the day, these stories are about people. And when you're writing them, you need to have those people writing those stories because they're the only ones who are going to understand it. I might be able to come up with a good facsimile of a Native American character, but it wouldn't be right, unless I was writing it with my wife. If I did it myself, I'm just another guy taken from something that ain't mine to make some money. But if I'm doing it with my wife, this is different. But I can write you an Irish guy all day and get it right. The American diaspora Irish. And I think it's important for people to see that Marvel's taking steps to fix some of these cultural mistakes that they've made.
Absolutely. I think I would like to say that the rest of the entertainment industry needs to follow suit of what Marvel's doing. There's no reason. I've literally been told, sorry, we don't hire native bands at mainstream venues that, have a rock band doing cover songs the night before. They'll have a rock band or a blues band doing originals the night after. They're not a venue. They're not a ticketed venue. It's a venue that has a built-in audience, and they have a stage and they're known for their music. I'm not gonna say any names, but literally told, we don't do native music here. And I said, but what are you talking about? Like, have you listened to what we sent you? It's, it's rock and roll and we include native flute. And he's like, yeah, but the whole native band thing doesn't really go here. And so where is that?
Fucking racist.
Where does, and there's that mentality in music, film, literature, everything all around of, oh yeah, but that's this special thing, and that's for over here. And now I think there's this realization that no, our culture, our people's stories, who we are, everything about it deserves to have this platform and representation it deserves, because there's this misunderstanding of the reality of what it is.
It's ingrained into American society. If you just open your eyes and look, I live on a street called CoC. Okay. I definitely think we see it more here, just because we did keep a lot of place names, and while there were some upset folks up here, I think most of the state celebrated when they finally changed the name back to Denali, like officially on paper. Like I certainly was happy.
I think you can things like that are steps forward, but then you've got the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. There's a word for it, but it's just ignorance.
It is.
Where people refuse to acknowledge what's right in front of them. Like here in Arizona, the nearest town to us is Casa Grande. But everyone says Casa Grande.
Yep.
It's Casa. And we've got Casablanca. Everyone says Casablanca.
Yep.
So there's this understanding that is not an English word. But they still have the, what is it? I guess it's willful ignorance or willful, whatever, to just ignore it. It's not, they can't say it or they can't pronounce it. They don't have to, it's just, you see that everywhere,
the town, the next town over is literally named for the tribe. The people of Kenai. What is it? What does it Kenaitze mean, babe?
Knightsey?
Yeah.
I think we got the name from the town. Because
Huh.
we are Katnutana Denina, the Kenai River people.
Yeah. Kenai River people. There you go.
Katnutana Denina.
Katnutana Denaina. So that's our local tribe, but it's everywhere.
Yes, and like
And you got these guys there, Kenai.
exactly. Make them say stop shortening things. Stop, just make them say the whole word.
Exactly. And if nothing else, it's just good for you to learn things that aren't fucking English.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that people, you're seeing a whole change too, I think, with that way of thinking. I think you're seeing that generation kind of, they're dying.
We're slowly, too slow for me.
I'm just saying, like, that inability and arrogance and unwillingness to change. I think a lot of people across the board are starting to realize that there's no other avenue to go but to change and adapt, and to say, hey, the way things have been is wrong, and there has to be a progressive way forward. Evolution is about change, and this is something that needs to be changed. Representation,
Absolutely.
how people treat us, how we treat ourselves and our communities. Everything is starting to, and I think we're gonna start seeing a lot of our youth with a brighter outlook and understanding.
The kids are giving me hope. Like,
and, I think they're seeing that. They're seeing that we live in a more open society now, where their grandparents had to go to residential schools and weren't allowed to speak their languages, and now you're seeing these youth that are encouraged to sing their songs, practice their dances, their ceremonies. And it's a whole new world today in the the society we're in. I think we've still got that. We're not out of the woods. We've still got a long fight ahead, but I think we're starting to see that ray of sunshine at the end of the storm, sort of thing, where we can finally say, okay, maybe now we can start taking the steps we need to make our communities wholesome.
right.
And or not wholesome, but I mean, we're suicide, all the epidemics that we face as people because of the way we're treated in mainstream society. Maybe those things will start to turn around.
I hope. You mentioned, the grandparents in residential schools, and I have this picture. Let's see if it'll even show up. That is Ashley's grandma, my daughter's great grandmother, in the 1940s at a residential school up here. Now I'm going to show you a picture of my daughter. That's my daughter.
Oh, wow.
It's the same fucking face. We're going to tell her she's a time traveler.
There you go.
Coming
What a way
from
forward.
what a way forward. Coming from that to now, especially that we're acknowledging the residential schools. I'm not enjoying the fact that I'm seeing mostly Canada.
Yeah.
And it's like we're ignoring the fact that it happened here too, still. But
Well,
Canada's a start.
And I think that's a big thing that people need to realize is, where did Canada get the idea?
There you go. Hard truths.
They need to, they need to start looking at the schools here too. And
Absolutely.
I know recently they brought back some bodies from Carlisle Indian School back to Rosebud. and put them to rest there. So I know there's been that work at Carlisle out in PA for years, and that's one of the worst. But there's a lot of others that I'm very intrigued why there's not any scans or archaeological surveys being done.
I agree. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is like it's great that we're seeing Canada uncovering these things and putting it out there like we fucked up. But I would like to see more light shown on what we've done as like as recent as the 1940s. You know, I go to this woman's house for dinner sometimes. Like this is someone that I can go speak to, and that's what our country put her through.
And I want to know why in hell are we still pursuing Nazi war criminals, but they're saying that we can't pursue the priests and the nuns that raped, murdered, burned alive.
What's that?
And just created a modern day. And I say modern day because, like you said, you can go speak to this woman. This is modern day.
Yep.
This is not, it's 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, the past 100 and something years of the residential schools. But it's when it is people still living and their relatives that have still been affected is modern day problems that we're
Agreed. And that's where you get the, what's the term? The generational
post-colonial stress.
There's that, just and it's a general thing, like generational trauma, I think is the term. I may be wrong. Yeah. The post-colonial stress syndrome too, though. Sorry, that just reminded me of tour when we're in Sacramento waiting for John to show up. And when he came in, he looked around the room and went, "God damn Europeans." Sorry. Fucking but yeah, the generational trauma where we're like we are passing these things down to our children.
Absolutely.
Whether we know it or not. You know, in some ways it's a thing that we do because of. In others, it's just there. It's in us now. And we can work it out, but we have to talk about it. At least talk about it. Make reparations where one can. But we're not talking about it yet. Not as openly as we should be. Obviously it's different for our families. You know, we have close ties to these things in one way or another, so it is talked about. You know, it is a thing that's discussed, but that's the start of our kids and the next generation, because some of them had someone to talk to about things like that. We can start that ball rolling for the generational healing.
For the people that are in positions of power within the university and academia, if you are a non-native in charge of American Indian Studies at a university and you're not being an ally and you're muting the actual voices of Indigenous representation within your college, step the fuck out of the way and resign.
It seems like an abuse of power.
You know, it happens time and time again. I'm so sick and tired as a performer of being told not to talk about the depressing things. You know, it's like, what kind of college institution are you that you're not allowing the truth of what our communities are going through to be spoken about on a public setting, first of all, that's a violation of my rights. Second of all, that is, not why you're supposed to be bringing in people for your educational series. And that's a huge thing, man. And what we're talking about and moving past is because you have voices being silenced, you have stories being silenced. And if it's happening to a performer that's a guest, what do you think those native students are going through when they need help, or they're going through tough times? They're being told to deal with it. And this is going on at the University of Wisconsin right now. There's a lawsuit right now for college students being denied what they need, for American Indian college students being denied the resources they need.
Well, and this is where you run into, like you mentioned, the suicide issue. It's an enormous issue. And like we've done shows and things for, suicide prevention, suicide awareness. If you're comfortable, I know you've got stories that you can share. But also when you're talking about, don't talk about the hard stuff. I did think about, should I do this show? And absolutely, I should do this show.
Yeah.
It's not that I have a voice, I don't have an audience yet, but I still felt like compelled, if you will, that this is an important topic, and because I'm an entertainment show, I need to do this show. Everything we're talking about, from the representation to the healing, for the cultural things, like somebody's got to talk about it. Why not us?
Yeah.
Right? Why not the silly comic book show? Because it's happening there too, and that's Marvel's taking their steps. But we get into this suicide prevention. I'd actually like to just talk about that some more. Let's make it a hard show. It's a huge problem amongst the youth, especially. We're seeing it all the time in the villages up here, sometimes a couple times a month, it seems.
Yeah.
And again, these are people we know, these families, Alaska's not that fucking big, folks. Kids at home. It's someone everywhere. So everything hits real close to home. These are kids. These are 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, older too, but kids. They're kids. They've got no life experience outside of the village or Anchorage or Kenai and Soldotna. They've got nothing, and they're taking their own lives. And how do we combat that? I'm sure you've got ideas.
I think that things like this are the these conversations that need to be had. This is a stepping point. It always has been in being the first step to what can we do for our communities. Going back to the entertainment side of things, Res Dogs, the representation with Marvel,
Redbone.
We've got Redbone. We've got Quanah Looking Horse as an ambassador for Chanel.
Wow.
We've got Natives in Vogue almost every other week now. We've got, I think once these kids in our communities start seeing that, that's gonna be an important part into saying, hey, your voices are not being disregarded, you're being heard, and you have people and you have role models out there. And I would hope that these people and other people that are getting this representation now will, keep up their level-headedness and be there for their communities, because these are the people now that need to go into the communities and start talking and saying, hey, we're here for you. We're doing this for you. And let these kids know why it's being done. And I think that's a huge, huge part of it. I know Taboo does that. I know, all these actors lately on Res Dogs have been doing that.
Well, they didn't shy away from it on the show, like it was very much one of the driving points for the plot. And like I mentioned, there's some really tender, make you cry scenes. And when she found him swinging, I bawled my eye. Thinking about it, I'm tearing up a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's
was
real, man.
It's real. It's powerful shit.
Yep. And you can't deny it. You can't run from it. It's right there. And I think, man, to the people who have seen that and been like, why? Why would that be included? Just,
the same reason that they blurred out. It's the same reason that they blurred out the eyes, but still showed that the owl was hanging from his porch. Is it's real, and it needs to be. It needs to be there.
And people need to start waking up to the fact that these are things that plague our community. Not, oh, we go through this and this is a hard time. This is daily in Indian country, daily. This is that scene is a daily occurrence in our community. And yeah, like
trying to hide it isn't doing anybody any favors.
No. So kudos to, everybody who has a show and is free to talk about it, to other entertainers in the industry who, took that chance and said, we don't care what they say. We're going to do this because it needs to be talked about.
Right.
And to those of us who, sit back and are affected by that.
And anyone who thinks artists shouldn't be talking about political things is wrong. We're the ones who absolutely should, because we're out there with the people. We mix it up with folks and we get to know people, and that's the fuel that drives that fire to get out there and perform more. Is we know your stories. We tell your stories when we can. And sometimes it's with a song, sometimes it's with a conversation, that an interview, whatever. But that's our job, is to talk about these things, because nobody else is. You look at, and it's funny to me too, so the people who are telling us that artists need to stay out of politics and shit are the same ones who grew up listening to protest music in the fucking 60s.
Yeah. It's, I can't remember who it was, but that was told just shut up and play. Was it was it Buffy St. Marie was famously told just shut up and play, and then she was censored.
It was Buffy, yeah.
Yeah, she was censored by the Nixon administration from the airwaves. And basically told that, shut up and play. And it's like, no.
And
then
I don't think I will.
What the hell do you mean shut up and play? Have you listened to my lyrics? Like, that's kind of like when I heard that, and you watch the story on Buffy, and so many of the musician activists at that time who were told that kind of same thing. It's like, well, what about their lyrics? Because their lyrics are plain as day.
Exactly. It's like, what's the difference of me talking to you or singing to you? At the end of the day, what's the difference? Because I'm telling you the same thing.
So, yeah.
She's an incredible lady too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. We've done a couple shows together now. We did one virtual show over the pandemic, and then we did a show in person years ago at the Unity concert.
I met her briefly. She was up here with Milo Matthews, who's from Homer. But he plays out of Hawaii now. But she was up here playing shows with him, and I got it just briefly, like that little 5-minute meet and greet. But just such a great performer, powerful lyrics, and just commanding. Like, pay attention to this lady.
I mean, I'm not. She is. How do I say this I mean, she'll say it. Her age wise, she's up there, you know.
Mhm.
And to have those pipes the way they are, I mean, she can sing like no tomorrow, man.
Just like she was, 40, 50 years ago.
Exactly. And yeah, I was trying not to be like, she's old and she could still sing, but she's getting up there and she still sings.
Yeah, she's doing those Mick Jagger shows, like just killing it in his 80s or however old he is now.
No doubt.
That's
Kudos to those people, man,
anyone who's got staying power, because this is not an easy job to go out and play, regardless of how big a fish in the pond you are. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's an important job.
Especially, being at those, I don't know. I just know to the elder people in my life, they have their pretty down days sometimes, strength wise. And I can't imagine those people that I know also that are in their 70s that are hitting the road doing 100 shows a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I hang out with them and I'm like, you act like you're 30.
I can't keep up with you, old man.
Is this juice? What is it? What are you juicing that I need to juice? Tell me.
Give me your power. I play with a couple of guys. Shit, one of them is 71, 72 in 5 days, and the other one's 72 on the Halloween. And I cannot keep up with these two. Like, I'm their drummer, and I'm like, because Russian, or I'm not fast enough. What's going on?
That's funny.
Like they just go, and they're doing those 4-hour sets, sometimes 5 if they're feeling froggy. and like, I'm sitting there going, I'm getting tired, guys. But
no, it's weird, man. Like, I don't know. I used to be up till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then I, sleep till noon, and then get up and do it again.
Yeah.
And I'm only 32, but like, I think the years on the road and the years in the van, it's just like now and probably the time off for the pandemic, but it gets to be 10 p.m. and I'm like, I think it's getting to be bedtime. And then I'm up like, 9 a.m. and going back to that thing of, touring and being that age, like these guys are, staying up until 2 a.m. and then they're up at 6.
Look at Willie. Have you seen his schedule on tour? It's insane. It's insane for me. And he's,
yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And then to go through like everything they're all going through right now with COVID protocols is crazy on top of it. And they've got to,
let's take your crazy schedule and add some pandemonium just for fun.
Your crazy schedule where you have no you time and just keep you in a hotel or a bus the whole time.
Yep. You're in the hotel, the bus, or on the stage.
More power to them. I mean,
I agree.
I hope when I'm a 80-year-old man, maybe I'll find the secret juicing mix that they all have. There's got to be one, man. It's
telling you, I think it's just weed.
That's probably
it's just weed. And now that they can just vape it or eat it and not have to smoke it, it's just weed.
Yeah.
Keeps the aches and pains away. Once
I mean,
again, today's episode is brought to you by marijuana. Always brought to you by marijuana. We like weed here.
yes, it's an important thing. Weed.
Weed. But
Yeah.
so to start wrapping up, we're getting there to the end. I've still got to get this week's episode uploaded. But so we've covered a lot of ground today, and for real, like thank you for coming on, and like I feel like you were a pretty big get for me.
This was chill.
like I was saying earlier, a couple artists to check out right now for comic stuff if you're interested. Stuff to read on the road, man, is definitely The Werewolf by Night by Taboo. Check out his Spirit Rider. The issue 1 just dropped digitally last Monday.
Okay.
And then Darcy Little Badger is making some waves too. She's got a novel out called Elazzo. And it's a YA book. She's got another one called The Snake Falls to Earth that's coming on the 7th of November.
Oh yeah.
Werewolf by Night, the current incarnation, is got a Halloween special in the works for Disney Plus, so that's something to look out for, kids. And then United States of Captain America. That's where we're going to see Captain Americas from all different types of walks of life all over the country. And Darcy Little Badger's got one of those coming to in issue 3, I believe. So check it out. It's good stuff. You can check out Cody Blackbird, Facebook, YouTube. You just dropped a video for Back Up, right? And that's with Portugal the Man. And who else was in that?
It's Portugal the Man and Sage Cornelius, and then it's featuring or produced by Jalen Leddit, and it features the guitar of Ed Coban and bass.
Oh fuck, how's Ed?
He's doing good. He's actually flying down. Him and Mario are flying down first week in November. We've got
Mario was keys, right?
Mario's bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, great group of guys. Ed Coben group. Check them out too. And Portugal the Man and Sage Cornelius. Check them all out. You got any tours booked? Anything in the works coming up that people can see you live?
Live, people can see us in Tucson, Arizona, Thunder Canyon Brewery, November 4th. And November 5th in Scottsdale, at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. And both of those are full band shows. Solo shows, if you're in the Phoenix Valley, Scottsdale particularly, I play Fridays and Saturdays at the Native Art Market, which is Scottsdale's first ever Native American owned store. They've sent over $350,000 directly back to Native artists since they opened 8 months ago.
Very cool. Very cool. So there you have it, folks. You can check Cody Blackbird out all over the internet. He's done all kinds of cool stuff. I know I like his music. Maybe you will too. If not, don't listen. But you'll like it. He's good. His band's got a good groove. You always have though. When you were a kid. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you all for joining us here on Cody on Comics. I hope to have some more exciting episodes coming soon. We're gonna get out of here. Get a little cock.
Laters.